Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back another video day, and today we're going to be talking about the Houston Texans potentially trading for Cooper Kupp, one-time Pro Bowler, one-time Super Bowl champion, also won the Triple Crown a couple years ago, and that same year was Offensive Player of the Year. Also talking about Super Bowl MVP. So, yeah, the Cooper Kupp has had a great career. Had a 2,000 receiving yards, almost 2,000 yard receiving season a couple years ago with the Rams in 2021. That came with 16 receiving touchdowns. What I think a lot of people would be surprised if you heard that he only has had 2,000 yard receiving seasons, had a 1,161 receiving yard season in 2019 with the Rams. Here's a big problem. I mean, obviously, it's not because he's not talented. He has had so many seasons with injuries that has stopped that 1,000 yard receiving season. Like this season, he had 710 receiving yards with 6 receiving touchdowns and played only 12 games. I am pretty sure he reaches 1,000 receiving yards if he plays the full 17 games and doesn't have the IR stint he had. You want to go to last year? Last year, he had 740 receiving yards and played only 12 games. Again, I probably wouldn't be surprised if he reaches 1,000 yard receiving season if he plays there. And then another really good example, only played 9 games in 2022 and still had 800 receiving yards. I am 100% sure he reaches 1,000 receiving yards season if he plays in his state and stays more healthy. He might have had as good as a season as he did in 2021 and 2022 if he stayed healthy. He had 812 receiving yards halfway through the season. And there's just so many other examples of this happening for Cooper Kupp, like 974 receiving yards in 2020, playing 15 games, missed one game, but at the same time, one game he'd get 26 receiving yards, and then 2018 did have 600 receiving yards, but missed half the season. So, look, the point of the Texans making a deal for a wide receiver, whether it's a trade or it's a signing, it's to add someone next to Nico Collins who's going to stay healthy. The Texans, obviously, we could bring back Stephon Diggs. I actually would like that, but I think someone else needs to be added in next to Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins because Tank Dell's not going to be back until the playoffs, if at all, next year. And Stephon Diggs has an injury history as well with just tearing his ACL. So, I don't know if there's a world where the Texans re-sign Diggs and trade for Cooper Kupp. Maybe you just trade for Cooper Kupp and add in another wide receiver. I don't know. But, look, I mean, I'm not going to say that Stephon Diggs is better than Cooper Kupp because I don't think he is. But the point is to add in wide receivers for C.J. Stroud that are going to stay healthy. And these last couple years, the good thing is that Cooper Kupp has been ready to go in the playoffs, was healthy in the playoffs last year against the Lions, and was ready to go in both of their games this year in the playoffs. And there's never really been a problem of him being, him not being healthy in the playoffs because he's never not been healthy in the playoffs. He's always been great about being available in the postseason. So that's a good thing. That's a great thing for C.J. Stroud because it's been back-to-back years for C.J. Stroud where his second most talented wide receiver in the postseason outside of Nico Collins is Robert Woods, a guy who was Cooper Kupp's wide receiver to almost a decade ago. I don't know about almost a decade ago, but half a decade ago. I mean, it was 6 years ago that Robert Woods was the wide receiver two for Cooper Kupp on the Rams, and now he's at the end of his career and he's wide receiver two for C.J. Stroud in the postseason. I know we have John Mechie, we have Xavier Hutchinson, but those are some younger guys. But most talented wise, I think Robert Woods is probably most talented wise outside of Nico Collins. And so that's just something you got to change. And so if Cooper Kupp's going to stay healthy in the playoffs and maybe he has to miss a little bit of time in the regular season, I don't know if I'd have a huge problem with that. But I still think the Texans need to have guys that are going to be healthy the full season. And that's kind of hard to have. I mean, look, you guys, I wouldn't mind T Higgins. I know Joe Mixon wants to be reunited with T Higgins. That's another guy that is injury prone. But if he's going to step up in the postseason, who cares if maybe he misses 3 or 4 games in the regular season? So I think the key part probably is just having these guys, whoever the Texans add in, whether it's a trade for Cooper Kupp or it's a signing for T Higgins, or it's just bringing back Stephon Diggs and adding in another guy next to Diggs and Collins. Is at this point, who cares about these guys staying healthy in the regular season? Obviously, that's what we want. But the main thing, what we want is whoever's going to be next to Nico Collins, please be healthy in the postseason, because that's where it matters the most. I think the Texans can still have a winning record if a T Higgins or a Cooper Kupp has to have one IR stint. But if they're ready to go in the postseason and they're 100% for CJ Stroud, and so is Nico, that's what matters. So, but like I said, Bleacher Report listed the Texans as a landing spot for Cooper Kupp, top 6 landing spots for Cooper Kupp. Texans were listed as number 3. I wouldn't mind it. What is the compensation the Texans have to give out, though? That's another question. So I don't think the Texans need to. The Texans shouldn't have to overpay for Cooper Kupp as well. Like, I would say, like, I don't know. I would say like a 4th round pick in this year's draft, and like maybe a 2nd round pick in next year's draft. So a 2nd and a 4th, I wouldn't mind. But let me know your thoughts on the Texans potentially trading for Cooper Kupp in the comment section, and peace out. Go Texans.